welcome again to the parsha with Rabbi Akiva and the dermatologist. This is episode number 19, I believe, but who's counting when you're having fun? We're also having a wonderful guest with us. You've met him before, Adi Carney. He's an IDF soldier, and he's bringing the spirit of Israel from where judgment actually is truly taking place, because as a soldier, we're talking about the parsha here, how you have to act during war. Already Moses talking about that. They still are figuring everything out as they're about to enter the promised land, and he's already telling them that you have laws, that you have to be judging people properly. And we know that the IDF is the most humane army in the world, and what they're doing with even using the Hamas statistics, their Ministry of Health, but we know it's run by Hamas statistics, it's 1-to-1 ratio of combatants to civilians, and somehow they forget to mention those people who are dying from natural death. As a physician, I tell you this is impossible, no natural death for 2 years in population over 2 million, especially claiming that they're starving. But let's get back to the parsha. So before we do, I want to say, Rabbi Akiva, you're bringing the Kodesh from the land. You just returned. Thank you. We missed you. It was hard to do the parsha without you. I didn't have who to ask for questions or who to.
So we're back.
Who will ask me the tough questions.
Episode 19. Interesting.
Something like that.
So first of all, Adi, great to have you on the show. Always nice to have you here. It's amazing that you're here. And Doc, good to see you. I want to let you know, Dr. Levitt takes out his precious time from his office to come.
Well, you take your precious time too.
Okay, enough accolades. Let's jump into the parsha.
Please.
Parsha Shoftim. So, as I was talking to Dr.
Shoftim means judges.
Shoftim means judges. It's the weekly parsha we read for this on Shabbos in the synagogue. And as in every one of the passages, every one of the parshiot that we read since Sefer Devarim, Devarim is called Deuteronomy. It's a Mishnah Torah, which means that most of the mitzvahs are repeated. This is Moshe Rabbeinu's last, will and testament to the Jewish people, the Jewish condition that the Jews will face in the future. Moshe was the greatest prophet before entering Israel. This is what's going to happen. There aren't going to be any crazy surprises if you follow the will of God. If you follow the mitzvahs, if you follow the Torah, if you follow what God's prescription for Jews are, then you'll be good. And if not, unfortunately not. And history has shown Moshe's prophecy, Moses' prophecy to come true. So every parsha is packed with mitzvahs. Last week's parsha, Parshas Re'eh, I think had about 100 mitzvahs. You know, there are books that count the mitzvahs. How many mitzvahs are there in the Torah?
613.
Oh, okay.
I'm fluent.
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't shocked. 613. Taryag.
Yeah.
Now, how do you count 613 mitzvahs?
What do you?
Who counted them? Did you open the Chumash and say, okay, this is 1, 2? How do you get 613?
Personally, I didn't count them, but I'm sure someone does.
So the R in Hebrew is called Monei HaMitzvahs. Maimonides, one of the first ones. The famous Rambam wrote a book called Sefer HaMitzvahs by Rambam, and basically the 613 are all within the walls of the 5 books of Moses. Many of the mitzvahs already were given beforehand in the previous 4 books of Moses, Bereshis, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and many of them are repeated in Deuteronomy, in Mishnah Torah. Moshe is giving many mitzvahs over again, and there are a few, I would say, new mitzvahs that he introduces. I wanted to focus on 2 of them. One I think is new, one I think is very...
Parsha?
In this parsha, I just want to focus on just one of them, and it has to do with, I think, the upcoming holiday, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. You ready?
I'm listening.
We're middle of Chodesh Elul.
Yes.
You know what Elul stands for?
Slichot.
Yes, Fardi, you're saying Slichot already.
I'm
Ashkenaz. We're lazy. We get up late. We start only before Rosh Hashanah.
It's the preparation for
Elul is it stands in many acronyms. Elul is Ani, is Aleph, the Dodi Li. Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed, which means I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. What does that mean? That it's the month that we just reconnect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with God, in anticipation for Rosh Hashanah, for the Day of Judgment. We want a better year. We want a good year. So one of the psukim that jump out at me, and I think is an amazing discussion in Judaism, is can we go to futurists? Can we go to soothsayers, Kabbalists sometimes, palm readers, what they call psychics?
Right.
The history is replete with people wanting to know the future. Now we had prophets, no question, and the prophets knew the messages that God gave over to the Jews. But is it something that, I would love to know the lottery numbers for tonight, or tomorrow night. I think it's a big lottery.
Yeah.
900 million?
I don't know.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
If I got that, we could retire and learn together all day.
Yeah.
But the point is, does a Jew have the ability to do so, or not ability, should they? Try to.
Right.
So the pasuk, look over here. The pasuk in chapter 18, verse number 13, it says, Tamim tiya im Hashem alekecha.
Yeah.
What does that mean, doctor?
You need to be innocent with the God.
Oh,
you
it's
need to do everything that He tells you to do, not to try to do different things and try to be smart on the God.
Very good. So what Adi has is what Rashi says.
Yeah.
And I'll read it to you. It says, Rashi explains that you should follow Hashem with perfect faith.
Yeah.
It's not just, it's trust. What are the two words for trust? Emunah and bitachon. Emunah is the, I would say, theoretical trust, and bitachon is a physical trust. A person is going through a hard financial time, a hard family time. They trust that Kadosh Baruch Hu, God's putting them here for a reason, without being concerned what will happen, and not going to astrologers and diviners, but accepting whatever befalls. And this is a pasuk in the Torah. Tamim tiya im Hashem alekecha. What do you have to say about that? Dr. Levitt always has interesting ideas. Obviously you're saying it's obvious that a Jew has to trust in Hashem.
Right. The problem is with people with palm reading is that you allow someone else to dictate your future as opposed to what we believe in Judaism. We've discussed it many times, that we have free choice. And if you have free choice, how can you predict your future? How can you say that the future is set in stone? The answer is, it's not. Having researched a little bit palm reading, and I'm not an expert in that.
Could you read palm?
Some parts.
Okay.
And they have actually apps for that as well now. The interesting thing is they're changing. The lines are changing. There is one within which you are born with, and the other palm is the one that is changing.
Interesting.
And that's why when they read, they have to understand, read both, and they cannot really tell you things like how long will you live. You cannot, because those things are changing.
So interesting.
And that's why it's important. We're talking about put yourself judges. It's very interesting that the judges that were part of the Sanhedrin had to be familiar even with black magic. They had to have multiple languages. Why black magic? Because when they were trying to judge people, whether they were claiming that they were doing black magic stuff, they needed to understand it. It doesn't mean you need to practice it, but you need to understand it so you can better care.
Your answer reminds me of the famous book of Mishnayos, a commentary from the Tiferes Yisrael. So I think at the end of Kedushin, he brings a story. Whether it's Jewish or not is a big controversy. But he says that Moshe Rabbeinu, my son's calling from Israel. There's a middle of the episode. I'll call you later, okay?
You can join us.
You could join us. I'm the Dr. Levitt. So there's a famous story.
Hi Eliezer, how are you? Nice to hear your voice.
I'll call you back soon, sweetie. Bye. So there's a famous story. I apologize for that. My son's calling.
No, he's a great son. I love him. He's not only handsome and tall, but he's inside beautiful.
Thank you. There's a story brought down that when Moshe Rabbeinu was in the desert, and remind me if you heard the story, there was a king who heard about the Jews, and he sent a famous artist to paint Moshe Rabbeinu's body and face. And he was given that picture, that unbelievable AI 3D perfect picture painting over to his necromancers to read his forehead. Because I guess you dabble in black magic, you know palms, you know faces. So they knew how to read. and he sends the person to take a painting. The guy paints Moshe Rabbeinu. You know this?
No, I didn't know that.
So this
never heard
is
about
it's in the commentator on Mishnayos, and Moshe Rabbeinu's face comes back, and the guy says, "Oh, this person is a Baal Gaiva. He's an egotist. Oh, he's a murderer. He's the worst things in the world." And the king says to the guy, "Listen, you're a bad artist. I'm going to kill you. No, I promise you, this is the way he looks, and I'm going to kill them." This is the kings back then, Middle Eastern kings. Some things don't change. So the point is. Let's get back, not off politics. So he says, "I'm going to visit Moses." He goes to visit, he sees it's the same picture. He sees they read it correctly. He goes, "What is it?" He goes, "So Moshe explained to me, yes, maybe I was born that way. Maybe I had these features physically, but I had freedom of choice. I chose to build myself into the greatest prophet ever to live, ever to be amongst the Jews." This is a story brought down on the commentary Mishnah. The Hasidim, I believe, loved it. The Litvisha said, no, the Torah says Moshe was born and there was light in the house. The Torah tells us he was born perfect.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that he was born with all these, inclinations or warts.
Yes,
so that's the discussion. But the story's lesson holds water. That, a different Moshe, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, we discussed it many times. You ever heard of Moshe Feinstein? He was a rabbi, a rav, a gadol hadar, one of the greatest rabbis to live in America. He came from Russia, I think, in the 40s. And
From?
Russia. And he lived in Luban, Russia. He moved to the Lower East Side. He built a yeshiva. He built the Jews in America. And this is a true story. One time, one of his students wanted to see his notes. He was writing on the Talmud. And in the 50s, maybe 60s, people didn't have big pens. Ballpoint pens. They had quills and ink. So Moshe had a quill and an ink bottle, and his Gemara is over here.
Oh, no.
And the Bacher, the student, wanted to see what he's writing, and when Moshe wasn't there in the room, he, by mistake, as kids are wont to do, and it wasn't over anything. It was this new Gemara. It was this huge, like this big Gemara, big Talmud. It was expensive. It was nice. It was printed beautifully. It was this big thing.
Oh my God, very hard to
And
read.
Moshe Feinstein walks into the room and he says to his student, who's obviously very scared, not of this rabbi, but of what's going to happen. This is his new Talmud. It costs money. He goes, "Doesn't the Gemara look beautiful in blue?"
Oh my God.
And he explained to him, this is written down, this is recorded. It's not because I'm not short-fused sometimes, Rabbi Feinstein told the student. I was born that way. Obviously, he was very smart and, didn't always have patience for everybody. But legend has it he had patience for everybody because I built it into myself. I built it over time.
Can I interject on this
Yes.
one? So this is about judgment, and that's why this story is actually important for us to understand. So when Moses in this parsha asking us to elect judges, he asks us to elect judges that are not looking for external gain, for outside gain. And he says, very importantly, he says, tzedek, tzedek tirdof.
So you're going back to the beginning. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof.
Which is very, very interesting. Why are they saying to us twice that we should pursue justice? Justice shall you pursue. Why? So there are a lot of explanations. Did you read why?
The pasuk says, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Right? Pursue leman in order. Tichya, v'yirasha asher Hashem lekeveth lach. So that you live and possess the land that God Baruch Hu gave, that God gave us.
Right, but why does...
why it doesn't
It's so laconic.
Right,
The Bible is so laconic. Why would he use the twice the word tzedek, tzedek, tirdof?
So let me hear what you say.
I know there are explanations, and I'm afraid that I'm going to not
There are
remember.
70 facets to the Torah. You always have such nice insights. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm sure this is from some parts that I remember, whether it was from Rashi or from others, so it's not credit to me, but this is what I remember. There are a couple of ways that you can understand it. First of all, when God initially said to Abram, Lech lecha, go to yourself, lech lech, so walk to yourself. So just like this parsha is saying, the important thing is you are doing tzedek, tzedek tirdof. You should go after doing the right thing. But tzedek has a couple of meaning. Tzedek is you do the commandment, and also it also has the meaning of doing not a kind, doing a positive thing to someone.
Nice.
But it also does it for you. It's kind of like square root of something. So when you're doing it, and you think you're only doing it for someone else, you're actually also doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your entire family. You're doing it for an entire nation. And you will remain, like it says, in this land because others will know that you are judging honestly. So when we're looking right now on Israel, for example, they have different opinions. But they would have the jury and they would judge them according to the proper laws. Nobody is taking the judgment onto themselves. They don't go on and say, okay, an eye for an eye. You Hamas did that to us. When we capture you Hamas, we will, remove your head or remove your limbs or watch laughing while you're, in your own, blood. Because we are taught that we should try to be judging people not as they judge us, but as we would want to be judged.
Revenge.
Right.
Yeah.
See, Rabbi Monk says the same thing. He says, when a tzedek double language is that when you do justice, it should be just. Right? It should be with kindness and concern, not with cruelty. The end doesn't always justify the means.
Right.
So even though a judgment of money, monetary or punishment is done in a court case, when the judges mete out the punishment, it should be done with kindness and concern. And that's really, if you go to the Gemara and Sanhedrin, it's full of these very beautiful and similar ideas. Interesting.
So there is an interesting story about Ben Gurion and the head rabbi of Israel at that time.
Chazon Ish.
And he said to him that he wanted to make a Sanhedrin, like a Sanhedrin. And Ben Gurion, who was very well versed in the Bible, although he was not a religious man, he was very well versed in the Bible. He said to him, "Where will you find 71 judges who detest ill gain?" And he says, "Give me enough money, and I'll find you those judges." And it was true. So the issue is you should not take bribes. And we see time and time again where a jury, look at the Hague. What on earth did they do in that stupid Hague? Are those judges? No. They're having ill gains, and yet they're judging. Look at the United Nations judges. Are they really judging? Why is Israel a size of smaller than New Jersey? Why is that getting more attention than what's happening in Sudan? What's happening in Yemen? What's happening in China? Why? Because they're small. Because there's so many countries who are jealous of its success, despite it not having oil, despite it not having any kind of natural resources. That is not tzedek tiyodov. So we're learning here from Moses how we need to live in a world that has consequences. Because without consequences, things blow out of proportion. But in a way that will perpetuate a happy, healthier, more constructive future for everyone. So please remember that. There are two other quick points that I will say. One is that it's talking there about the laws of war, and Adi wanted to say some things about that. And the third one that it's talking about is about the king. So when you're a king or a leader, one of the things that it talks about is you cannot have too many horses, you cannot have too many wives, and if you will, it won't be right. And when we think about the smartest person that we ever think in the world, Adi, who was the smartest person considered in the world?
I would say Shlomo Melech.
Right. So he was perfect, almost. But what did he do wrong? He didn't listen to that. Number one, you have to write a Bible. I think you have to, as a king, you have to write a Bible, and you have to carry a Bible with you too. And you have to carry the Bible with you everywhere you go.
Sefer
Torah. The Sefer Torah, which is very, very smart. You not only, when I try to memorize stuff, reading it is not enough. You have to also write it. You have to use all the faculties that God gave us, all the senses, in order to remember stuff and internalize it more effectively. So the Shlomo, what mistake did he do? How many wives did he have?
A lot.
He had like 1,000.
Yeah.
Was it 600 wives, 400 concubines?
A lot.
1,000 wives.
1,000 wives. And he had lots of horses. And what happened? He fell. Even that smart guy fell. You need to speak to someone.
So, I would love to hear what Ali has to say about the war. Hello. Hi, welcome. Thank you.
So basically, also in the parsha, Hashem says to everyone who's going to fight the war that is going to give them the brave to do it before they enter in the war. And I think it's very familiar to the situation right now. You know, like we need to stay brave all the time before we enter in the war zone. And each one of us that already have wife, already have kids, so also in the parsha is saying that you let them go away to a safe zone first.
Right.
And about the parsha is saying that also, right? Yes. And also that's what's going on with the reserves. You know, for soldiers like me, only 22, there's no problem to fight there even like 2 years. You know, we must stay brave. And about what he's saying also in the parsha,
you have
about
to have the ability to be brave.
Yeah,
You have to have if a person hasn't newly married, they can't go home because they can't focus on.
Right.
So
Which is very, very interesting that they tell you, if you feel like you don't want to go, don't go to war. Stay at home. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't
No,
feel.
it depends on the reason.
But
But
it's also there is a situation when they drink from the river. What?
they can't drink the river. They have to make sure that the enemy still has.
No. I'm talking about before they entered the war zone one time. So Hashem did a test for them. He told them, let's see how they drink from the water. Some of them did it like dogs.
That's not that.
And yeah, I know. Yeah. But you know, that's what I'm saying. That each one of them that afraid to go into the war, we don't need it in the war. You know.
That's
And
Gidon, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
yeah.
Very nice. Adi, Yashikaya, thank you for your service. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being here. Amazing points. Dr. Levitt.
Thank you.
Next
Thank
week's the
you.
20th episode.
Yes.
Interesting.
Hopefully this was educational and fun.
Shabbat Shalom.
I would share
Yes.
one quick story.
Yeah.
Rabbi Solanter. Rabbi Solanter is the father of the Musar movement. We've spoken about him, Rabbi Israel Solanter. And one time he was in a train. And this gentleman was telling him in a very irate way, close the window. He was very upset. You know the story?
I'm listening.
So he tells him, close the window. And he smiled and he went ahead and he didn't say anything politely and he went and closed the window. As they approached the station, there was a huge amount of people there to receive Rabbi Israel Salat because he's very famous. And he realized who he was talking to. He felt like horrible. So the next day he comes to him and he's apologizing to him. He's like, please, don't feel bad. It's okay. And then he tried to find out what was the reason. Apparently, the reason he was so upset was he was trying to become a shochet, a kosher slaughterer. And he was not able to get a job. So what Israel Salanter does, it didn't only make him feel welcome and not feel guilty about the fact that he was stressed out. He tried to understand why he was that way.
Right.
So he tried to understand people because often when people attack us, we tend to want to defend ourselves by attacking back. But there's usually a reason why they do that. And trying to understand that reason, he didn't only understand it and say, okay, I get it. He actually said, you know what, I think I can help you. And he ended up training him, teaching him, and he ended up getting a job.
Yeah.
Now that is true Musar. That is true Tzedek Tirdov. And I want you to look in your life and see how many times you misjudge people and how you can teach yourself, like Rabbi Akiva said, like Adi said, not to have that short fuse, because when you explode, the explosion has collateral damage to you, to your family, and to other people. So let's bring peace, let's bring hope, let's
Amen.
bring good energy into this
Amen.
world. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Doctor.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Brian.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you,
Shabbat
Adi.
Shalom, Am Israel.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Be well. Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Okay, thank you. Doctor, very nice.